Zane said quietly. Ricky scoffed. That man's no less evil than Alex Okoloff. Helen's eyes swept the office. A nameplate on the desk read, Manager. Her stomach sank. What? What happened? You both work for these people. No time to explain, Zane said urgently. And no one can know we're related. Understand? Before Helen could respond, chaos erupted outside. Men shouting in Russian and English. The sharp crack of gunfire. Screams. Ricky moved instantly, throwing the deadbolt on the office door. Zane went to a filing cabinet, yanked open a drawer, and pulled out 2 handguns. There's a phone. Helen spotted it on the desk. We should call the police. They'll rescue us. We can return to our lives. No, Mother. Zane's voice was hard. This is our lives now. What? Edric's men are taking this place. He promised to reunite me with you if I took his side. He'll protect us. No. Helen stood, reaching for the phone. It doesn't have to be this way. Zane stepped between her and the desk, blocking her path. His eyes were cold, unfamiliar. You don't understand. I didn't expect to be reunited with my son like this. Tears streamed down Helen's face. You're not a criminal. You're a victim of a plane crash. Sometimes there's a thin line between victim and criminal, Zane replied. We've got to do what it takes to stay alive. Heavy fists pounded on the door. Bruno, a thick Russian accent called, open door. We got attacked. Alec, gone. We need to secure office. Zane and Ricky exchanged glances, but remained silent. More pounding, more demands in Russian, then gunshots right outside the door. The Russian voices cut off mid-sentence. Helen heard bodies hitting the floor. A different knock came, lighter, almost casual. It's me. A Mexican accented voice said. Edric. Ricky looked to Zane, who nodded. Helen watched her son grip his gun with practiced ease. Whatever innocence he'd once possessed had been stripped away by 19 years in this hell. Ricky unlocked the door cautiously. Edric Canvo entered quickly, blood splattered on his shirt, the acrid smell of gunpowder clinging to him. He closed the door behind him and threw the locks. It's done, Edric announced, wiping sweat from his brow. I and my men held our side of the deal. This empire is mine now. And he looked directly at Zane. I want your loyalty, both of you. I dealt with Alec real good in his office. Put 3 peanuts in his head. Alex Soloff promised us fame, Edric continued. Said if we trafficked drugs and laundered money through tours, he'd make us stars. But he never fulfilled that promise. Kept me here as his manager while he lay with girls and counted money. Edric's eyes gleamed. I'm not like Alec. As we've discussed, I'll continue this empire, but I'll also make you a real band again. Give you the fame you deserve. Don't worry about the drugs. Just funnel the stinky money for me. That's your end of the bargain. As we discussed, Ricky stepped forward. You didn't bring my parents. They're both dead. Hedrick said bluntly. Died years ago, but I fulfilled my promise to Zane. I brought Helen. I didn't like what you did to my mother. Using her as a mule, making her swallow packages. What the hell were you thinking? Your mother was about to visit your father. Edric snapped. What did you expect me to do? If she'd told him anything, he would have called Alec and blown the whole operation. Our entire plan would have unraveled. He glanced at Helen, his tone sharp. And if I hadn't made her swallow those packages, she wouldn't have ended up here in your office. Might go straight down to the incinerator. His gaze lingered on her before shifting to Zane. She was just so difficult to convince. Reminds me of someone else I know. He narrowed his eyes. I'm guessing none of you realize the police already found the jet this morning. They did? Ricky asked, shocked. News hasn't reached us inside yet. Helen spoke up, her voice trembling. Yes, I saw it myself. The Navy pulled it from the ocean. She turned to Zane, comprehension dawning. Your father knew about all this all along. Zane sighed. It's a long story. I'll explain everything later. You remember Dad was our band manager. His eyes flicked to Edric's hand as it hovered near his gun once more. I'll keep my promise. As we agreed, I'll hold up my part. Edric extended his hand and Zane took it, their grips firm but tense. I'm sorry, Mom, Zane said, his voice low. But this way, we can be together again and safe. Helen clutched her mouth as the weight of the betrayal crashed over her. Her knees gave way, and she caught herself against the table. All these years, she believed Malcolm had been broken by grief. But now she realized his time in the mental facility had been a calculated escape. Once released, he'd quietly returned home, dodging the police and their questions. The man she had married, the father of her child, had been the architect of this nightmare. And now she was losing her son as well. The three men began discussing logistics, body disposal, cleaning crews, which of Alex's men could be turned and which needed elimination. They spoke casually about murder as if planning a business merger. Helen's eyes found the phone on the table just behind her. Agent Dana Trute's number was burned into her memory. While the men plotted, she moved slowly toward the desk. Her fingers closed around the receiver. She lifted it silently and began dialing. No. Edric spotted her and drew his gun. Zane lunged for the phone, trying to pull it from Helen's hands. Mother, don't. But Helen held on desperately. She heard the line connect. Heard Agent Trute's voice. FBI. Trute speaking. Edric's finger tightened on the trigger. Everything happened in slow motion. Ricky charged toward Edric. The gun fired. Zane threw himself between his mother and the bullet. The impact spun Zane around. Blood bloomed across his chest. He collapsed into Helen's arms. Help! Helen screamed into the phone, help us. Ricky slammed into Edric, sending the gun skittering across the floor. In one fluid motion, Ricky scooped it up and fired. Once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5. The shots were precise, grouped tightly in Edric's chest and head. Edric crumpled, blood pooling beneath him. Ricky grabbed the phone from Helen's shaking hand. This is Ricky Moreno, he said rapidly. I'm one of the missing band members, the lead guitarist from Crimson Fireline. I'm here with Zane Hayes, our lead vocalist, and his mother, Helen. He gave their location quickly. Zane's been shot. He's bleeding badly. Alex Sokolov's dead, but there are still Edric's men here. Send a tactical team now. Units are en route. Agent Trute said, find somewhere safe and barricade yourselves in. Ricky hung up and immediately began reinforcing the door, dragging a heavy filing cabinet in front of it. Helen cradled Zane on the floor, pressing her hands against the wound. Blood seeped between her fingers, warm and terrifying. Stay with me, she begged. Please, baby, stay with me. Zane's eyes fluttered. His breathing was shallow. Labored. The blood was soaking through his shirt, pooling on the floor. Outside, they heard sirens approaching, not just a few, but what sounded like an entire fleet. The warehouse erupted in gunfire as the tactical teams engaged the remaining criminals. Helen kept pressure on the wound, her hands slick with her son's blood. She prayed harder than she'd ever prayed, begging God to spare her child. The gunfire outside intensified, then gradually died away. Minutes that felt like hours passed. Finally, a voice called through the door. FBI tactical team. The building is secure. Ricky moved the filing cabinet and unlocked the door. Tactical officers in full gear flooded in. "We need medics," one shouted, seeing the blood. "Did you check the underground red room?" Ricky asked urgently. "The incinerator all clear," an officer confirmed. "Whole facility is secure." Paramedics rushed in with stretchers. They gently but quickly moved Helen aside and began working on Zane. Another team checked Edric, but it was clear he was beyond help. "He's deceased," one paramedic announced. "Multiple gunshot wounds to the head and torso. Massive blood loss." An officer approached Ricky. "Who shot him?" "I did," Ricky said steadily. "He was going to kill us all." They lifted Zane onto the stretcher. Helen followed, her blood-stained hands trembling. As they moved through the warehouse, she saw the aftermath of the battle. Bodies covered with sheets, evidence markers, FBI agents documenting everything. After 19 years of wondering, she'd found her son. But at what cost? They were led out of the warehouse into the cool night air. Emergency vehicles filled the parking area, ambulances, police cars, FBI vans. Red and blue lights painted everything in shifting colors. Paramedics loaded Zane's stretcher into one ambulance while another team placed Edric's body bag into a separate vehicle. Helen saw Agent Dana Trout stepping out of a black SUV having just arrived. The FBI field office was clearly further away than the local tactical team's base. "Mrs. Hayes," a paramedic called urgently. "We need to leave now. Every minute counts." Dana jogged over. "Go," she said firmly. "I'll meet you at the hospital. We'll take Ricky's statement here." Helen turned to where Ricky stood with officers, his hands uncuffed, but his posture defeated. "I'll see you later, Ricky. We'll talk." "I'll do the right thing," Ricky promised, his voice thick. "I swear." "Thank you," Helen whispered. She climbed into the ambulance. The doors slammed shut and they raced through the streets, siren wailing. A paramedic worked over Zane, checking vitals, adjusting 4 lines. Helen gripped the bench seat, watching her son's pale face. At the hospital, everything moved in controlled chaos. Zane was whisked to the emergency room while Edric's body went to the morgue. Helen found herself in a waiting area, fluorescent lights harsh overhead. Her heart was racing dangerously. Dr. Peterson had warned her repeatedly about stress with her condition. She forced herself to breathe slowly, evenly. She had to stay strong for Zane. A sudden cramping in her abdomen made her gasp. The medicine from the warehouse was working. She flagged down a nurse. "I swallowed drug packages," she said urgently. "I need to pass them." The nurse's eyes widened. "Come with me immediately." They rushed Helen to a specialized room. The nurse put on gloves and gathered supplies, a bedpan, evidence bags, and medical tools. "We need to retrieve these safely," she explained. "The packages could rupture if not handled properly." Helen was positioned over the bedpan. The nurse monitored her closely as her body expelled the packages one by one. Each was carefully retrieved with forceps, inspected for damage, and placed in evidence bags. The process was humiliating but necessary. 4 packages recovered, the nurse documented, all intact. Afterward, Helen was admitted for observation. She explained her early-stage congestive heart failure to the medical team. They ran EKGs, took blood, monitored her carefully. The stress had indeed strained her heart, but she was stable. Hours later, as Helen lay in her hospital bed, Agent Dana Trout arrived with her partner. "The doctors updated us," Dana said gently. "Edric Canvo died from massive blood loss, multiple gunshot wounds, and Zane." Dana's expression was grave. "He's alive, but in a coma. He flatlined twice during surgery, but they brought him back. He's critical, but stable. He lost tremendous amounts of blood." Helen closed her eyes. Thank God he's alive. Ricky told us everything, Dana continued. He's been completely cooperative. Do you want to know what happened in 1981? Helen nodded. My son never got the chance to explain. Dana pulled out her notes. According to Ricky, your husband Malcolm was their manager. He invited the band on what he called a celebration trip on a private jet. Promised them a deal with an international distributor. She paused. But on board, they met Alex Solofov. Malcolm revealed the true agenda. The band would launder drug money through tours, funneling cartel cash through ticket sales and merchandise. Helen felt sick. Malcolm planned this. When Zane and Trent refused, Malcolm and two cartel enforcers pulled weapons. A fight broke out. Trent was shot trying to fight back. Derek was executed for attempting to radio air traffic control. But Zane spared because he was Malcolm's son. Ricky agreed to cooperate if they protected his family. He mentioned he was always the cute one, a crowd favorite. Alex saw value in that for the laundering operation. Dana continued, your husband convinced Zane to work for Alec, threatening that they'd kill you if he refused. After the murders, Alec needed to dispose of the evidence. The pilot, one of Alec's men, set autopilot toward the Wanda Fuca Ridge. They parachuted out where Alex's crew waited with transportation. Why wasn't it found for 19 years? The plane flew low, avoiding most radar. Coverage over the Pacific in 1981 had gaps. The emergency beacon was removed, and the crash site was too deep for recovery technology of that era. Helen wept openly. My son worked for monsters for 19 years. I heard them talking about him taking lives, using women and children as mules. Alec and Edric are dead, but Zane and Ricky were just boys caught in my husband's evil. What happens to them now? Dana sighed. Malcolm is being processed. The years he spent avoiding questioning under the guise of mental instability won't protect him anymore. We'll pursue charges. As for Zane and Ricky, it's complex. Prosecutors could frame them as willing criminals, but we're emphasizing they were coerced victims. The court will consider they were teenagers threatened with family deaths. Ricky's cooperation helps immensely. With good representation, they might receive reduced sentences or even immunity for testifying against the organization. Ricky's parents died years ago, Helen said softly. He might not have known, isolated as he was. He's at the station now giving a full statement. I want to talk to him when I'm better. That can be arranged, Dana stood. We'll update you as things develop. After the agents left, Helen called for the nurse. I need to see my son. They brought a wheelchair, helping her transfer from bed to seat. The nurse pushed her through quiet corridors to the ICU. Through glass doors, she saw him. Zane lay motionless, connected to multiple machines. A ventilator breathed for him. Monitors tracked his vital signs. Bandages covered his chest. He looked so young, so vulnerable. The nurse wheeled her inside and gave her privacy. Helen reached out with trembling fingers, touching Zane's hand. It was warm but unresponsive. My baby, she whispered. My sweet boy. Tears fell freely as she held his hand. 19 years of separation, of not knowing, of grief, all leading to this moment. Her son was alive but broken, shaped by circumstances no child should endure. I'm so sorry, she wept. Sorry I couldn't protect you. Sorry your father did this. But you saved me, Zane. You took that bullet for me. She prayed then, pouring out her heart. God, please heal my son. I know he's done terrible things, but you know his heart. You know he was just a boy trying to survive. Please be merciful. Let him wake up. Let him have a chance at redemption. Helen squeezed Zane's hand gently. I'll fight for you, she promised. Your father should pay for his crimes, not you. You were a victim, my darling, my brave, lost boy, who did what he had to do. The machines beeped steadily, marking time. Zane remained still, locked in his coma. But Helen stayed, holding his hand, finally reunited with her son. After 19 years of questions, she had answers. After 19 years of absence, she had presence. It wasn't the reunion she dreamed of, but it was real. She would sit here as long as they let her, watching over the child she'd lost and found again, praying for one more miracle, that he would open his eyes and call her mother once more.